Welcome everybody to GoLocal Live. I'm Josh Fenton, CEO and co-founder. Busy day today. Obviously the jobs numbers came out this morning. We're going to jump into it with DLT Director Jensen in just 1 second. Just an hour ago, we had Darrell West from the Brookings Institution talking about the future of work. He wrote a pretty landmark book a couple of years ago that really talks about how technology is going to transform the workforce. Well, listen, the country and the world is doing it right now by Zoom and Skype and working outside their office. That's an important interview. Take a look at it if you get a chance. From the schedule today, 12 noon, Dr. Fine, former Director of Health for the state of Rhode Island, will be back with some new information. And at 2:30 today, we'll have Governor Raimondo's press conference on a live stream. Let's jump over to Director Jensen. Director Jensen, you are the man, the busiest man in the state of Rhode Island, unfortunately.
Well, let's just say that we've been here a lot in the last 3 weeks here at the Department of Labor and Training. People have good spirits and working hard. So, but yes, a little bit busy, that is true.
So let's talk about the numbers. National numbers came out today, an unprecedented 4 times larger number of folks in the United States out of work in 1 week than the previous high of 1982. 3.3 million Americans are out of work. That's got to put, for professionals like you, just a deep breath, oh my God, type of situation.
Absolutely. And if anything, those numbers are very much understated. There's Gavin Newsom, governor of California, was talking just yesterday that California's true numbers are 1 million people on unemployment insurance, so, or at least applying for claims. So, that bears our experience as well. So those numbers are behind, and they'll catch up. You'll see next week. Expect more.
In about 3 weeks, Rhode Island has previously had almost a record low unemployment of about 12,000. We've added nearly 70,000 between unemployment insurance applicants and temporary disability insurance applicants of 70,000. We have a workforce of about 550,000 going into this recession. This is a big number. What's that challenge bring to you and your department?
Well, particularly with unemployment insurance, it is a social safety net program that's meant to combat recessions. And recessions come in like a cascade. The water starts to flow pretty fast, but you have some time. This has been like Niagara Falls. Never has anyone seen this. Little bit of perspective, 5,300 claims in 1 week was our record week here in Rhode Island. That was the Rhode Island banking crisis. We've beat that number for, I think, now the last 10 out of 11 days. So every day we get in more than our previous record week. So that is a waterfall. No doubt about it.
Director, listen, also the infrastructure of dealing with this. Listen, I said to you before, it's like having a car wash and somebody comes every hour to get their car washed. Now you're dealing with 500 cars that want to get their car washed. People are anxious, people are depressed, people are in shock. How have you been able to try and meet the demand as best as you're able to?
Well, we've done really 2 main things. First off, your car wash analogy is perfect. What we are doing is, instead of applying wax 3 times, we're doing it once. So we're trying to get those cars through quicker. We've also set up a hotline where the anxiety is real. People are scared. I think we all feel that. So we have a call center outside of the UI call center that is able to field questions for people just to try to give them a sense for what we're doing. We're counseling patients when you talk to folks in our call center and trying to explain to them that, if you've applied, don't apply again. Apply online. It will be quicker. don't give us a week or so before you call and ask after your claim, so that we can do the work of processing, not just answering questions. So the folks that don't work in unemployment insurance at DLT, we're asking them to volunteer to ask questions and on the call line and alleviate some of the pressure for their colleagues who are the professionals to take the claims.
Previously, a applicant would go through a process. How long did it take to get an approval and their first check out the door previous to the coronavirus? And how long is it going to take in the new system that you're trying to implement to expedite checks getting out the door?
So probably between 7 and 14 days was the old way, just to apply. And now we are trying to stick with that timeline in spite of the influx. So we're still within it for most. We're tracking as batches of claims are making their way through the system. And we haven't crashed yet, and we don't think we will. And these things are coming through. So, we're asking folks to be patient, and we are keeping our eye on everybody's claim.
We've seen 70,000 in 3 weeks. Unfortunately, this may be just the beginning of a long process. The developments of the stimulus package being passed in the Senate last night, I think about 12:30, 1 o'clock. It's now over to the House. They've signed off on it, and they're supposed to move it. It's supposed to be signed by the president on Friday. When will you realize that influx of monies, and when will those benefits transform?
So we've been on the phone with Senator Reid's office, and I can't tell you how helpful the senator's staff has been. You need to have the details of the law so that we're able to program what that application is going to look like. And I think that we're going to try to have that application up by Saturday. And I think we're working with some partners right now to be able to augment the computing power of our system so that that very large influx of people who are independent contractors, small business people, we're not folks who were not covered by regular UI, are going to be able to get through and not have everybody gum each other up as they're all trying to get through at the same time.
And that's obviously going to take more time. If you've worked in a gig economy, part-time freelancer, Uber driver, painting houses, all those convoluted things combined to be able to support yourself and your family, this is the first time really in history that unemployment is going to cover that type of worker.
That's correct. And, I think what folks who are GoLocal viewers, what they need to look at is gather up last year's tax documents. That's going to be a crucial number, and no matter how Congress's bill winds up getting across the finish line, that's going to be the number that we're going to need. What was your adjusted gross income in your last full tax year? That is going to give us a baseline that will help determine benefits and get people the money that they really need as quick as possible.
There's two themes of feedback that we get on a hour-by-hour, minute-by-minute basis. Number one is that the telephone line is almost impossible to get through. The second is that the site doesn't crash per se, but sometimes takes on certain functions 20 minutes or so to load. Can you address both those issues?
Sure. Both of those issues are related to what is a very natural reaction that people have, and I don't blame them for doing it. But it's those two ways, one by the phone, one by certain parts of our website, are folks looking for information about where their claim is in the queue. And again, I understand why people are so anxious about that. I am too. But when everybody goes to look at their claim, we can't, whether it's electronically or even certainly by the telephone, it eats up a lot of bandwidth, both metaphorically and literally, to actually process claims. So that spinning, waiting sensation is usually on our on a status page that we have, and people. I know it's hard, but we're just asking to refrain from the urge to check, because it won't necessarily help. We're getting to those claims in the order at which we got them. Again, what we've done is streamline the process a lot. That's how we're going to be able to get through this. You can't hire enough people and train them quickly enough, and then, by the way, put them in a call center that could get quarantined anyway. You can't, so you can't hire your way out of this. What we need to do is use technological solutions, which that is our strategy.
Director Jensen, your team has been working pretty much nonstop for 3 straight weeks, 7 days a week, unprecedented in state service. When did your team burn out, and how do you get augmented with additional resources from other state departments to make sure that the critical nature of the work that you're doing stays at the highest performance level you possibly can?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we are forcing people to go home for a day. One of our colleagues who's doing a key amount of work, we literally had to stop responding to her so that she might take a break. But that becomes very, very important when you think about our colleagues from the Department of Information Technology who are here with us at the Department of Labor. You had mentioned a car wash analogy. We also are, you can do a hospital analogy. We have only 3 or 4 coders who are able to perform surgery. So if there's a lot of people who need surgery at the hospital, those surgeons are going to be pretty busy. So we are doing our best to organize around those coders so that we make sure that they're only occupied on priority projects, that we give them a break, that and that we are really appreciative of the work they do. We're buying a lot of bagels for our coders and making sure that they're being treated well. But right now, those folks are the absolute core of what we're doing, and the program people, the DLT staff who really know the requirements that are being coded into the system, we're making sure that we manage their time very well and keep them in good shape. We try to get them home at 7, 8 o'clock at night, so by the time 7 or 8 rolls around the next morning, we can have that first morning meeting and attack the day.
Is it true you've wrapped those coders in bubble wrap for their own protection?
Yes, it is. That is true. We have a secured location that we keep them. Very safe.
Listen, this is tough times for everybody. And if you were going to give one statement to Rhode Islanders, none of us have seen this. Many of us have seen 9/11. We've seen the Great Recession, but none of us have seen it. And we're not old enough to remember when the Great Depression started. But express your team's working feverishly to try and deal with this. What do Rhode Islanders need to know?
Well, I think that this state pulls together, and that is what's keeping our people motivated. Is we're taking a lot of phone calls, and we're hearing people who are upset, and then when they realize that there's one of their neighbors, there's one of their friends on the other end of the line that's here because we want to help. that keeps us going, and I think that's what's going to pull this whole state through this mess. We're getting very clear leadership from the governor, from Dr. Nicole Alexander Scott, and others. So that is really helpful. So if we all work in concert, I think we're going to be okay. And we need to be tolerant of one another. Tempers can get high sometimes. They certainly are inside the building as we're all trying to figure out good solutions to challenges. But we're going to pull through it just fine together. And it's going to be kind of, we'll look back and this will be something that we're going to be proud of.
Director, thank you so much. I also want to thank your team for being so responsive with information. I think that's been critically important to be able to get information out quickly to Rhode Islanders. Thank you for joining us. For viewers, we'll be back at 12 with Dr. Fine and 2:30 with Governor Raimondo. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Great. Thanks.